Got the thumbs up. All right, thank you, everybody. I'll call to order the Whatcom County Council meeting of November 6, 2019. We will do the roll call.
Barbara Brenner,
Here.
Rudd Brown. Here by phone.
Rudd?
Yep.
Okay.
Barry Buchanan. Here. Tyler Bird.
Here.
Todd Donovan.
Present. The sheet says we're supposed to say present. Here.
Carol Frazee. Here. Satpal Sidhu.
Present.
Thank you. Okay, I would like to, a couple announcements. If you got a cell phone, turn them off. If you're going to be handing out paperwork to the council members, okay, I'll do this after the flag salute.
Let's do the flag.
Please join us in the flag salute. I got that out of order. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And actually, before I do the announcements, it has just come to our attention that Chief Knapp from Linden has just passed away from injuries while on duty, and I would like you all to join us in a moment of silence for that. It was pretty shocking news, so. Okay, and the announcements then that I got out of order. So if you got a cell phone, please turn that out. And if you're going to be handing out any paperwork when you come up here, just make sure that you get a copy to the clerk for our files. We're doing things sort of out of order here. We're going to do, well, first we'll do the minutes, and we're going to do introduction items. But is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
I think it was Mr. Buchanan first, and then Ms. Brenner seconding. So, any discussion? Okay. All those in favor of adopting the minutes, say aye. Aye. Okay.
Aye.
That passes unanimously. And we are, for calendar reasons, we're doing introduction items first. So if you look at your packet, you don't normally see the introduction items there. We've got that to start the meeting here. Do I have a motion for the introduction items?
Also move.
Moved by Ms. Brenner.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? I was,
Is that about?
no, I didn't know if Mr. Brown had something he wanted to say about the introduction items, so, okay.
It's kind of weird having somebody on phone.
Okay, well,
Sorry, I just,
but you'd say that if he was here.
I would. I still don't
So
think
that
it's.
was, all right, any discussion about the introduction items? Okay. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? No, that passes 7-0 with Mr. Brown voting from the phone. And while we have Mr. Brown on the phone, we have several items from executive session. We'll come back to some of those, but given that this is an issue that I know is of interest to Councilmember Brown, we thought we'd do this while he's on the phone. So one of the items in executive session was a discussion with our legal staff about the potential litigation against Juul, the, what do you call it, e-cigarette vaping thing.
E-cigarette, yeah.
And their marketing to children and the potential nicotine addictions associated with that. So I have a motion related to executive session that I will read out loud, which says, I move to retain the law firm of Keller Rohrbach at no cost to Whatcom County to investigate and pursue litigation against manufacturers and wholesalers of e-cigarettes and related products related to Juul Labs, Inc., Altira, and their corporate affiliates in connection with the manufacture, sale, and marketing of their products. And that is a motion coming out of executive session.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Buchanan. Any discussion on that? Mr. Berg.
Yeah. Originally, I was not in favor of this, and I honestly wasn't super thrilled with the attorneys kind of answering to my questions on this item, and I wasn't in support of it. But after our committee meeting this afternoon on that, and sitting there and thinking, Carol, I think you made a great point, and I think you actually answered my question better than he did. And
Maybe we should hire you.
that was, I mean, the point was a good point. And I thought about it, and I was like, that was exactly what I was trying to figure out and think about. And so your answer to my question is the reason I will vote in favor of this tonight, because I had no intention to beforehand, but thank you for that.
Thank you. I think having teenagers too helps,
Yeah.
knowing those things.
He will.
And,
Like, one more year.
and this is about how they're marketing nicotine products to
Yeah.
children. So, any further discussion on that? Okay. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. That passes 7-0 with Mr. Brown on the phone. Okay, we've got a number of public hearings before we do open session. I don't know if we got signups back there, but everybody remember, you've got 3 minutes to speak on anything we're having a public hearing about, and then if you have something else that's not on the public hearing list, you've got 3 minutes in open session. You can talk about either of those. So I think the clerk is getting the list for us. The first public hearing is AB 2019-528, a resolution authorizing the sale of surplus personal property pursuant to WCC, Whatcom County Code 110. Do we have a staff report on that?
The stuff was in the packet.
Yeah.
but it was-
And we, I don't know if the clerk sees anybody signed up. I see Mr. May talking. Do you have anyone signed up for
No,
comments on?
she doesn't.
But it's, and if you signed up to talk about the sale of surplus property, come on down, even if you didn't sign up. But it looks like we don't have anybody sign up for that one, so without anyone stampeding down here, I'll close the public hearing on that. What's the
Move
wishes of the
approval.
council? Ms. Brenner moves approval, Mr. Byrd seconds. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Aye. That passes 7-0. Okay, the second public hearing we have is another resolution authorizing the sale of surplus property buildings pursuant to Whatcom County Code 1.10. I don't assume we have a staff report on that one either. And looking at the sign-up sheets and the crowd stampeding down here, it doesn't seem like we're going to be signed up for a public comment on this sale of surplus property. Do I have a motion for that? Well, actually, so I'll open the public hearing. Hearing nothing. I'll close the public hearing.
Move approval.
Move to approve by Ms. Brenner,
Second.
second by Ms. Frazee. All those in favor, any discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? That passes 7-0. Another scintillating ordinance adopting interim zoning regulations for the siting, establishment, and operation of temporary homeless facilities. This one maybe, we still have nobody signed up. AB 2019-531, a temporary ordinance about citing homeless establishments, temporary homeless facilities. Is there a staff report on that? We have discussed this in committee a few
They had the
times.
stuff in there.
We did get a report then. So I'll open the public hearing on that, even if you didn't sign up, if somebody wants to comment on that. I won't hold my breath. Okay, I'll close the public hearing. What are the wishes of the council?
Move approval.
Moved by Mr. Buchanan, second by Ms. Brenner. Any discussion, further discussion? Okay.
Did you see that was a nice diagram that Kathy sent us.
Yeah. That's all that.
Okay. All right. Did I close the public hearing? Let's say I did close the
Yeah, we
public hearing.
already
Okay.
moved and
Okay,
seconded.
we got a motion, we got a second. This is a roll call vote because this is an ordinance. It's a temporary interim ordinance. Clerk, please call the roll.
Barbara Brenner,
Yes.
Red Brown,
Yes.
Barry Buchanan,
Yes.
Tyler Bird,
No?
Todd Donovan,
Yes.
Carol Frazee,
Yes.
Satpal Sidhu,
Yes.
Okay, that passes 6-1 with Mr. Byrd opposed. All right, and that brings us to open session. So during open session, anybody can come down and talk about any issue that we didn't just have a public hearing on. You've got 3 minutes to speak. give us your name, make sure that the clerk can hear your name in the record, and you'll get I won't call it a warning, an announcement at 30 seconds in that your time is expiring. So come on, you can use both microphones. Come on down. Yeah, you can line up over here too.
Alrighty, so
Your name, please.
my name's Richard May from Blaine. I just wanted to have a word with you. I wasn't able to come to your committee of the whole earlier about the no shooting request for the area of Drayton Harbor. I support hunting in the wild, but not so much in a place like Cornwall Park or the center of a city. So I've been part of Blaine city government for over a decade, and we have a challenge that we have two separate non-continuous parts of Blaine. They're close together at the top of Drayton Harbor Bay. They look at each other across the water in the middle, but at the bottom, the road connecting the two fragments of Blaine is in the county. So we're not even set up as continuously as a badly gerrymandered Congress district, because at least those are required to have the skinny little connection road inside the boundaries. But that said, it's not an isolated wilderness there, and the connection road at the bottom side looks out at the bay, and at the Blaine homes on the left, the Blaine homes on the right, and the harbor in the center. So if someone's out on a boat shooting ducks in the middle of that, they're right in between two populated centers in the water in between them. So functionally and culturally, there's a strong argument that the city of Blaine should really have welcomed that connector road into its official boundaries. And many of the residents of the few houses that are along that road, they go to Blaine for services and socializing, and their mailing address is Blaine, and that road is frequently traveled by people going back and forth between the two portions of Blaine City. It feels like Blaine. Blaine sees it. It sees and hears Blaine. And so while that area is not currently in Blaine city limits, the Blaine-ness is more there than in some other parts of our officially designated urban growth areas. So it might be polite to consider it as an honorary part of Blaine and courteous to treat it in accordance with its proximity to a densely populated residential center. If it's next to residential Blaine, if it feels like Blaine, if it functions like Blaine, if it connects to Blaine, as they say, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, perhaps we can take into account whether shooting the duck is going to startle a whole subdevelopment of napping retirees. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hello, Council. Andrew Gamble, Blaine. I'm here to speak against cutting back on hunters' rights out in Blaine, in that area. There's precious few little areas where, when the weather's really bad, that folks can go safely in a small little boat out there and do their sportsman's rights and harvest those ducks that are out there. It happens a few weeks every year. It's happened for a long, long time. Those fears that exist in that area, I feel for them. But if you recall, the actual enforcement officers have spoken up on this. There's never been any damage from the sportsmen out there. So I don't know if any of you guys are sportsmen. I'm out in that area quite a lot. I haven't seen any of you out there engaging in those activities. But just please consider that there's a long-standing tradition of being able to go there. Precious, precious few places left where you can still do that, and no one's ever been harmed from it there. There are fears. It makes noise. No one's hurt. No one's going to be hurt. Chances are. Another thing I'd like to talk about today, since I have 3 minutes, is also the Cherry Point amendments. I know that's not on the agenda today, but I would like to take a minute to talk about the progress that's being made right now between the industries and your planning commission. That work has been going on to kind of flesh out the overlay of existing regulations that are already in place. They've done a fantastic job of going over all of the greenhouse gas regulations that are already in place there. It is a hugely complex overlay, and to properly and reasonably legislate in that arena, it makes sense that you understand the myriad regulation that's already there. And I would submit to you that the greenhouse gas is only a small part of the regulations that exist out there. So please allow industry and the planning commission, give them the time to go over all of the rest of the regulations that already exist in that area and identify the existing framework.
30 seconds, please.
Thank you. Identify that existing framework before you go and put more legislation in place. It only makes sense to kind of shine a light in that forest before you start chopping down trees. Thank you.
Evening, Council. Allison Calder, Point Roberts. I'm sure you received my emails as well as emails from many other people in Point Roberts. At the November 20th council meeting where council approved the contract for the Point Roberts garbage ordinance, we were of the understanding that council was to review the mandatory level of service before renewing the contract with the UTC. As this is a pilot project for mandatory service for all of Whatcom County, the fact that the UTC ordered CanDo to file a compliance filing in their office by August 15th, which was not filed till the 29th, and then we find out that the county drafted a county to renew the CanDo contract August 22nd before CanDo even filed to the UTC. Since then, we have found out that the provider signed the contract on the 9th of September. The county signed the contract then on the 23rd of September. At no point was any review done by the county. This contract was entered into before the UCC even did their review. I checked with the UTC. It has not even gone in front of the UTC Commission. And I even actually remember, I actually had to listen to the audio back. Mr. Donovan actually stated at the 20th meeting that regardless of the UTC review, Point Roberts needed to be given more options such as Bellingham, and the ordinance should be reopened. Why is it that on your agenda earlier this evening, you are reviewing a $20,000 contract for our TBD funds for gardening on Tyee, but you're not reviewing a $475,000 contract that you are using our tax money for? Many people, the UTC said, we cannot change the rate structure. Whatcom County put this as a variable. Have you used half of your garbage in the first 6 months? Absolutely not. But we have to assume that those are going to be picked up, therefore it is considered a debt, so we cannot change the rate. If you ask Mr. Hedges, I have them. I did a records request. For us to use, based on the taxes, because of the Whatcom County solid waste tax, we would have to generate 1,040 tons of garbage per year curbside alone. That is 80% of the total garbage generated in Point Roberts in its entirety. We're talking commercial, we're talking drop box, we're talking transfer station.
30 seconds, please.
We are not using this level of garbage. I'm asking that you use the portion of the contract and revoke the contract under section 11.3 for termination for public convenience. This is not in the best interest of the county, and it is not in the best interest of the taxpayers. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lori Henley. My husband Wade and I have lived on Lake Samish for more than 30 years. We have 3 daughters that have been fortunate enough to call Lake Samish home, growing up with it, in their backyard. We really care about the lake and we care about the neighborhood. I'm going to keep this brief, but I'm speaking out again regarding the ordinance that moved the no-wake zone buoys to their current location, approximately 2,700 feet south of the bridge, from where they were 300 to 500 feet. That took away a large portion of the lake. I'm in favor of the compromise, which suggested a location approximately 1,000 feet from the bridge, a spot where the distance across the lake is 600 to 650 feet. The compromise location will help ease the congestion on the lake. I think the buoy compromise that's been proposed, along with the compromise to allow the ski boats to be at 150 feet from the shoreline and the wakeboard surf boats to be at 300 feet, I think those are reasonable solutions to the current situation. the one that has resulted in the unintended safety concern with all the congestion in the small area of the lake. I think it's pretty straightforward. Condensing all the boats into a smaller area is not a safe thing. I appeal to you to correct this oversight before we have serious repercussions. We don't have any hidden agenda in the compromise. We just want the lake to be safe and a return of the peacefulness that we once had. It's a great area. Thank you.
Hi there. You guys seen me up here a few times now. But my name's Hannah Holt, and I'm an apprentice for Laborers Local 292. I'm trying a dress today. I'm sure you guys noticed how big my shirt is. I'm doing it with a dress instead of a shirt. Tonight I would like to briefly tell you a little about my experience as a woman in the trades and a construction craft laborer's apprentice. I'm here tonight to encourage the council to adopt AB 2019-285. So majority of my friends, maybe at least two of them not, I don't have much, but a majority of my friends, they have gone to 4+ years of college. They are still looking for those jobs. They are still working those part-time jobs. They graduated 2 years ago, and they still are trying to find their jobs. I went to college, and it wasn't for me. I dropped out, and I have now paid off more than half my debt, and that's because of me being an apprentice with the union. I was able to pay that off, and I'm only 21 years old. I was able to pay all that off by now, which a lot of times it takes a lifetime to pay off that much debt. College debt is big. I can support myself with this trades, and I don't need to depend on somebody, and I'm able to be I don't have to be the person to stay at my house, because usually people think that women have to stay home and have to do the dinner, the kitchen, the cleaning, everything. For me, I am able to be the one to go make the money. I don't have to depend on that. I can do it myself. I can have a family. I have all of that I can make myself. Another thing about why the apprentice is something that should be keeping is one thing that our coordinators, they go to jails or prisons, and they go out there and they teach people about the apprenticeships, and that gets people out and come out to us, and it leads less people to go and get in trouble. It leads people to be clean, realize what's good in the world, realize there's somebody out there that care for you like your family, that you have so much brothers and sisters that you'll always be there for you. And that's how it is. It's not just a job. It's not just the union. It's not just I'm an apprentice, I make money so I can support myself. It's a lot more than that. There's a family out there. I have a friend that I actually work with that I met through work, and he is now 8 years clean. And the reason he became clean, he didn't have a support system, but the union went to him while he was in prison, and he went to him and told him about the apprenticeship program. When he got out, he went straight to that. And now it's 8 years later, he is still clean because of that apprenticeship program. Another thing is, in my Women's Build Nation I went to a year ago, there was a woman who was homeless with 3 kids, and the apprenticeship program went to her, and she now bought a house, and she can support all 3 kids without the dad is not in the picture, doesn't help with bills or anything. And she's able to do that from this job. Thank you.
Good. But you already did, so. Go ahead.
Trevor Smith, and I'm a resident of Bellingham. I'm here for a couple of things tonight, one of which is to say thank you for introducing the AB 2019-285 for consideration, and I've got some handouts for you. So this is just a brief overview of our apprenticeships for the laborers union specifically, including how many people we have enrolled in it.
That's Rod.
Kidding me.
This won't count against your time.
All right.
Well, that means, I hope he didn't hear Hannah, but, I hope he did, but, go ahead.
All right. So
We got the tech guy on it.
So what you have before you is a brief overview of our program, how many people are enrolled, what our graduation rates are, the list of classes that we generally teach in our throughout our apprenticeship, just to give you some more background data. Anyway, the whole reason I wanted to come up here was to say thank you for doing that and to put it out there so that we can hopefully move forward with this. The other thing I wanted to use a couple minutes of my time was to encourage the council, the Cherry Point amendments have gone to the Planning Commission. There's a lot of good stuff being done. There's a lot of good conversation, whether it's with industry or with specialists and with people who understand not only environmental law, but understand the regulations that you guys are trying to craft. So I would encourage you to please give them the time. There was some discussion between the council members at the last meeting about feeling like they needed to rush. I hope that's not the case. I hope that they get the time to get through this and get the best product possible for Whatcom County. So I appreciate that. With that, thank you very much.
Thanks for the information here. So,
Good evening. Ken Calder from Point Roberts. I am here asking Whatcom County Council to review Ordinance 8.10.010 concerning mandatory garbage service in Point Roberts. Where there are minimum levels of service being charged, there is no incentive to reduce your waste. I am being feed on my property taxes for 26 32-gallon cans of garbage per year. My family of 4 has produced 7 cans of garbage in 2019. There is no way that we will produce another 19 cans of garbage this year. There will be no refund for services not rendered. The current not-so-minimum level of service is triple what my family will produce this year. We are being fined for producing less waste. When there is a minimum level of service, it should be a low minimum, so there is an incentive to try and stay at that minimum. And actually, there shouldn't be a minimum on the level of garbage you produce. It should be pay as you go, pay for what you produce. At a June 18, 2019, Point Roberts Community Advisory Committee meeting, it was requested that talk of a Point Roberts disposal district be put on the upcoming agenda under new business. I was informed that the June regular meeting was slated for talk on the Overlay District 2072, but the Waste Disposal District could be talked about at a subsequent regular meeting. It has never been added to any PRCAC agenda. At the October 24th PRCAC meeting, it was asked when the garbage ordinance was going to be reviewed so that a recommendation could be given to County Council prior to its review for the renewal of the contract between the county and Can-Do. The owner of Can-Do, Mr. Galatly, is a member of the PRCAC board and was present at the meeting. He gave no update. It has been found out that the county has renewed the contract in September without this council having a chance to look at the minimum level of service and its fairness to the property owners of Point Roberts. Why didn't Mr. Galatly inform the public of that renewed contract? He knew of it in September. He signed then. As I believe that it is a conflict of interest for Mr. Galatly to be in a contract for $475,000 with Whatcom County and to be on the board of the Point Roberts Community Advisory Committee. Please review Ordinance 8.10.040 and also consider a disposal district for Point Roberts. The Point Roberts Registered Voters Association
30 seconds, please.
and Point Roberts Taxpayers Association have been discussing a disposal district, and we have had positive responses from board members and the public. A strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat analysis has been prepared and is being reviewed and will be further discussed in preparation for a town hall meeting on the subject. Thanks for your time.
thanks for coming down.
Yeah, good evening. My name is Bob Gay. I'm a resident of the suburbs of Deming and a business representative for International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 191. Trevor hit a couple of the points that I was going to hit, but I just want to double up on them. We're hearing the same things at the same meetings. Regarding the planning, going over the Cherry Point amendments, that's really seems to be going well. It's what Labor had been asking for all along. There was obviously at the town hall meeting a month ago, there was a great turnout. Obviously, the industry had a lot of people out. And these last work sessions have seemed to produce some conversation. It sounds like there's people getting involved in this, and we'd like to keep it going. As Trevor had mentioned, had heard the same thing, that somehow, whether real or imagined, there seems to be some kind of pressure for the Planning Commission to act swiftly. And we just want to make sure that they're given the time to let the process, go forward. And really, that's all that I've come up here for, was just make sure that they have the time, let the process go. It seems to be going well. Thank you.
Hello, council members. My name is Tom Byma. I'm here to provide comment on the proposed ordinance AB 2019-285 that calls for an amendment to Whatcom County Code Title III that would require apprenticeship hours on publicly funded construction projects over a specified dollar amount. I've been in the local construction industry since 1987. My years have been spent working from a construction trainee to sales and management. I have also spent over 10 years as an instructor for a state-registered apprenticeship program and have seen the positive and negative effects that an apprenticeship program can have on both the apprentice and the employer. State-registered apprenticeship programs can and do provide a platform for individuals who desire to learn a craft and earn a living wage, but in no way elevates them above a construction worker who has been properly trained either on their own through a trade school such as Bellingham Technical College or a training provided by their employer. With that said, some of the registered apprenticeship programs in the state are outdated, and the requirements to stay in compliance are difficult for both employees and open shop employers to manage, and therefore many of the local employers choose not to engage in Washington State's very limited registered apprenticeship programs. These local employers do, however, spend hundreds of thousands of dollars each year in training and developing their workforce to provide quality construction services to both the public and private sectors in Whatcom County. This training is done in-house, on the job, through construction and trade associations, vendors, and technical colleges. This proposed requirement will have many adverse effects on local construction companies, especially the open shop contractors that represent about 85% of the construction companies in Whatcom County. Here are two examples. This requirement will discourage open shop contractors from bidding on these projects, thereby reducing competitiveness and creating opportunities for expensive out-of-county union contractors. This action will increase your project cost the taxpayers more money, and take the monies earned out of the county. When this work is taken away from local contractors, the demand for training of new construction workers will be reduced, thus increasing the problem we are attempting to fix. Workforce development is certainly needed in the construction industry, and this need is recognized by both union and open shop contractors.
30 seconds, please.
This development and recruitment of workers needs to be an organized effort to show students, young adults, parents, and educators that the construction trades can provide a living wage career with many benefits and opportunities for advancement without incurring tens of thousands of dollars in student loan debt. Creating a requirement for state-approved apprenticeship is not the best way to encourage more young people to enter the trades. Lastly, the awarding of Whatcom County's public projects should be based on the merits of the local contractor's bid and reputation for quality work. Thank you for listening.
Hi, my name is Larry. I work for a local contractor here in town. Wanted to talk about the same topic there about the apprenticeship requirements. I believe it's important that we have some kind of a set standard for apprenticeship training. We build these public buildings and the public takes it for granted that we know how to build it properly and safely. And yeah, we can have contractors just self-teaching their apprentices, but how do you know what they're being taught and if they're taught the applicable safety criteria and stuff for building your buildings? With some kind of a measurable tangent training program that you know what it is and it's measurable and you know who's gone through it and what they've been taught is really the only way to ensure what you're getting. We allow parents to homeschool their kids, but we don't let them teach whatever they want. They get an approved curriculum that is taught and trackable and measurable. We need that same type of approach when it comes to building these buildings, that the people building them are trained and taught and it's trackable and measurable and it's standardized. That's what I got to say. Thanks.
My name is Micah Ping. I'm going to try to keep this really short. I live out at Lake Samish. I'm just here to speak, saying I am for the compromise position that we've brought to Mr. Byrd, and I'm disappointed that it's not moving forward faster. You guys put a few people and their opinions directly fast line straight through and made this new law that has made the lake less safe and more congested. And you're hearing the majority now, and you're saying that you need more studies and more things. Why wasn't that done before? Why was it rushed through? So that's all I want to say, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Evening, council members. My name is Christopher Wotropka, business agent for Iron Workers Local 86. I've been up here before. Good to see you all again this evening. Currently live in Whidbey Island, but I'm testifying on behalf of Local 86 members down up in this area. I, again, like other brothers up from the unions up here, are talking about the Whatcom County Planning Commission. Their meetings regarding the chair appointed amendments have been quite transparent and have been an informative process, and that needs to continue as a planning commission reviews these complex ramifications that you propose on this comp plan. I was at that September 12th Planning Commission Town Hall. It was a full house here. And I was at 2 of the 3 workshops. I was on my honeymoon on one of them, so I can't really speak on that one. But at the one I was, one of the ones I was at, the Northwest Washington Clean Air Agency gave an impressive presentation at that one. And they kind of explained on how all their operations managers and everything go through the training in Texas so they can better understand that training, or understand the industry that they're regulating. I'm, along with Trevor and Bob earlier, we have heard at those meetings that the Planning Commission was under pressure to kind of wrap up their review of the comp plan, and we're asking that you just please give them the time to do that. Thank you for your time this evening.
Good evening. Ryan Lickle with Western Refinery Services. We're a contractor that works out at the refineries as well as perform public works from time to time for the county. And we have some concerns with the apprenticeship ordinance as well. I appreciate and agree with what Mr. Bima had to say a few moments ago. So I would agree with those concerns, and also state that I have concerns of my employees having the opportunity to be able to continue to do work for the county and public works sector. With this ordinance requiring apprenticeship programs, my employees currently don't have an apprenticeship program, and we're an open shop contractor. And for an open shop contractor to get an apprenticeship program, we have to go through the state council, the apprenticeship council. We're in the process currently with 2 programs, and we're happy to go through that process, but the process takes time, and currently the process is bogged down. You can hear that from the apprenticeship council members, and also the L&I consultant that we're working with. The process is bogged down currently with refinery apprenticeship programs that are going through as well. All these processes are bogging down the system, and our concern is that we won't have our program approved in a timely manner. We're also navigating some objections from other programs and such. All these things are going to take time to work out. And if we don't have that by the time your ordinance goes into effect, my people may not be able to do this work. We may not be able to bid on your projects. So it's going to decrease competition. Those are a few other concerns. But I appreciate the opportunity to speak here tonight. If you have any questions, feel free to give me a call anytime. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. Rich DeVoe, Lake Samish. I'm here to speak in favor of AB 2019-480. As I walked over this evening, I had the shirt on and no coat, and I noticed there's a big change since when this originally started back in June. It's cold outside, it's dark outside. I'm hopeful that you have all the information you need to make your decision, and that can be made fairly soon. I did think back and looked at the tape from June 4th when the group presented originally to you in favor of the AB 2019-306, which changed some things at Lake Samish. One of the things with regard to the no-wake zone was a description that it would be moved to a point, quote, several hundred feet from the bridge. I don't think you'd find anyone on Lake Samish that would have an issue if, in fact, the no-wake zone was moved to a point that was several hundred feet from the bridge. In fact, it was moved over a half mile greater than 2,700 feet. So the public heard one thing, where the buoys ended up with something different. We've been here several times to explain the rationale for moving that back. Hopefully you understand it. If not, I would ask that you reach out to either myself or anyone else that has been emailing you to get any clarification points you need. The second issue that is still on the table is relative to the setback for boats. If you look today, although no one will be out there today, but for a wake boat, you would have the protection that was passed in June, which says that you have to be 300 feet off docks and shore. The proposed AB 2019-480 offers that same protection for that class of boat or that activity, however you want to word it. So the people that were concerned about waves were concerned about waves, if you go back and look at the June tape, were concerned about waves coming from, I'll call it wake boats, wake surfing, wakeboarding, those type of activities. Again, they get the same protection if our proposed ordinance went through, AB 2019-480. What would change is the boats that weren't generating wakes of concerns, such as a ski boat or a little 12-foot aluminum boat with a 10-horsepower motor or a jet ski, wouldn't have to be pushed out to 300 feet. They could revert back to the 150 feet. And if you remember a couple of weeks ago, the sheriff was here and he said Lake Samish is a very safe lake as far as accidents. He couldn't recall any accidents over the last 10 years.
30 seconds, please.
So it's been safe at that 150-foot demarcation. So to me, I think it's a fairly easy call to say if the lake was safe prior with everything at 150, if we allow the smaller boats back to that and push out the other ones to the 300, that seems like a fair and reasonable solution for all parties concerned. So hopefully we can come to a resolution fairly soon, and I do appreciate you taking the time to look at it. Thank you.
Hello, my name is David White. I am a resident and homeowner at Lake Samish. I appreciate what the gentleman just said. I am in favor of the compromise, although I've lived on the lake myself, a homeowner, for 12 years, and I've been on the lake water skiing, living at my parents' house on the lake for 43 years. They taught me how to water ski all up and down where that half mile is. When it got moved back to 300 feet from the bridge, the no-wake zone, that was a long ways. And if you've ever been there and you're going with no wake under the bridge, it takes a long time to go 300 feet. But that seemed reasonable. The 2,700 feet is completely unreasonable. And I would gladly take all of you, any one of you, out on the lake in my boat so you could see where that was. So I would encourage you to, the compromise is beyond the scope of really a compromise, but if that's what's being asked, I would highly encourage you to really consider that and look into exactly where that is, because 1,000 feet from the bridge is beyond even, that is so far, and yet, okay, if the compromise goes from 27 to 1,000, I understand that. The 150 feet for ski boats is plenty. It's been that way, like the gentleman said. There hasn't been any accidents. There's nothing that reasons this change. And the 300 feet for wakeboard boats, that's the same, and I understand that. So I'd just like you to really take consideration there and come out to the lake and look for yourself and really get a perspective of, okay, what does this actually mean that what we're doing here, and how does that affect, and is that realistic? And just consider that, and also, consider the compromise, because really the compromise is beyond what ought to be asked for. So I appreciate your attention to this as a homeowner and someone who's been on the lake for 43 years. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Rod Roth. I'm a business agent for Labor's Local 292, and I'm going to change the mood. Unfortunately, with all due respect to the fatality's family, I want to bring to attention why I think you should implement apprenticeship utilization and training into the county. This is a legal document. This is not my writing. This is not my report. It's L&I. And it does say, the employer did not ensure that a dump truck in use on a construction site in Bellingham had an operable automatic reverse signal backup alarm. An instance where a backup alarm on the dump truck in use for approximately 1 week was not working and the condition was not reported by anyone on the job site. Item number 2, the employer did not ensure that only those employees qualified by training or experience were allowed to operate equipment and machinery. In one instance, an employee on his first day on the job was given approximately 20 minutes of training to operate a 58,000-pound dump truck on the job site, in which the travel route required extensive backing. This employee did not receive adequate training on what to inspect during a daily equipment check. Operating a truck of this size without sufficient training could result in death to the driver and/or pedestrians. And there was a pedestrian that got killed. This is what we're talking about in construction. Construction is not a game. It is not a hobby for people to make big money. In prevailing wage work, a construction craft laborer makes approximately $50 an hour. That's what the public will pay. You can get an apprentice through the trades for a lot less than a life. I know that the trades have opened their apprenticeships to these open shop contractors to use our training to help train the next workforce. Our workforce is old. I'm 51 years old. I've been in the labors for 30 years. In 30 years, I've never seen a fatality. I spent 22 years with a company that really emphasized the importance of safety. I'll say their name. It's Hoffman Construction. I was with them for 22 years. I never seen a fatality, although they did have a couple in the years. Things happen. People are fallible. I believe Dawson is a good contractor. I
30
believe these other
seconds, please.
contractors are good contractors, but none of them are willing to put in the effort or the money to have training. Why? I'll tell you why. Because it costs them money to have training. It's simple. It is your duty to push this through and to make sure that your next workforce in Whatcom County gets trained. I really believe that. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Janet Monks from Lake Samish. Been a Lake Samish resident for over 30 years. I'm here again to voice my family's support of the Lake Samish Compromise Ordinance AB 2019-479-480. The ordinance that was originally passed on June 4th, 2019 by the Whatcom County Council restricting boating on Lake Samish should never have passed. It was greatly based on hearsay, anecdotal information, and in my opinion, fear-mongering. Due diligence was not done at that time to verify any of the information presented to the Whatcom County Council. Some of the council have openly and thankfully, honestly, I believe, admitted they thought the few people who brought them the original ordinance were actually representing the greater Lake Samish community. And you know now that that is completely false. This has left a majority of Lake Samish residents being disenfranchised from the action that was taken that day. AB 479-480 is a very good compromise. It was presented to the Lake Samish community by petition, by communication, and through community public meetings. Over 400 residents' signatures have been received, and I'm sure we could get more if we wanted to. We know the sheriff reported that there would be no change in how he patrols with or without the ordinance. Parks Department reported no issues with safety or erosion. Public Works reported no issues with safety or erosion. And I'm going to guess that that means other than normal and natural. It is my experience that natural elements, wind, rain, snow, ice, and storms have a far greater effect on shorelines, especially in the winter, than boats who only operate for a very short period in summer. Lake Samish has a long history of good safety. Motorized and non-motorized boats are very safe. Swimming is very safe, and that is reported as well by the sheriff, but also known by a larger body of that community. It's a safe lake. The original ordinance was not really based on fact, not really based on evidence that applied to Lake Samish, and did not have the support of the community. It should simply be repealed. However, we have worked very hard to
30
come up with
seconds, please.
a compromise supported by the majority of the Lake Samish residents. And we respectfully request that you bring this to the next Whatcom County Council meeting, open it up to public comment, and pass this compromise to help resolve the issue and bring our community back together.
Hi, my name is Jeff Tenpass, and I'm here to speak in opposition of AB 2019-285. I'm a business owner and have some concerns with this proposed ordinance. First off, though, I would like to say a thanks to some council members, to Labor, to BIAW and AGC. We had a couple of workshops, and I think those were beneficial to this process, so look forward to continuing those. Just reiterate a few of the comments that were already made and a few more. You know, some of the unintended consequences related to this, I'd just ask that you really consider and look forward to. Maybe there's a shortage now in labor, right? We see it across general construction, public works, everywhere. But look 10 years down the road. Is this really going to impact Whatcom County how the ordinance reads as of now, right? We might be helping people outside of Whatcom County, and you know, our friends in Skagit is okay, but do we really want a county ordinance to benefit a county resident outside of a geographical area of a couple hundred miles maybe? It's not necessarily going to develop the local workforce, I don't think, as it reads. This ordinance would also create a wall between local contractors. There's open shops. Mine is one. I'm a partner in a business, and the union shops. And I think right now there's a pretty fair competition in the county, but I think this would create a wall to those contractors working together. So I just really ask that you'd look at some of the potential unintended consequences of this ordinance as we continue this process. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Paul Tiscornia, and I'm here to support the Lake Samish Compromise. My family's owned property on Lake Samish for over 40 years, and I saw the restrictions that were passed this summer, and they don't really make sense to me. I enjoy water skiing with my family on the lake, and I do realize that the wakeboard boats and the wake surf boats put up a huge wave, a really hard wave, a really nasty wave. I'm not a fan of those. But what I have is a tournament mastercraft boat, which its design is to make the smallest wake possible. And speed, the speed restriction makes no sense at all either, because my boat makes a smaller wake at speed. And we go a lot faster than the wakeboard boats. And I see that you're trying to match up Lake Whatcom with Lake Samish and have one conformity rule, but it really doesn't make sense. And so for safety, I think 150 is 150 feet is plenty of room to be off the shore. But I mean, wakeboard boats, they do damage the docks. They are a problem. It's a small lake, and I don't think that they need to be on a lake. That's my take on it, and hope to be water skiing and enjoying the lake in the future. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Fidencio Velasco. I'm a business representative for the Carpenters Union. I reside on Whidbey Island. I represent a couple hundred members here in Whatcom County. And I just wanted to tell a story. I was born in 1975 in San Diego, California. And in 2005, my mother-in-law was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. And due to an apprenticeship program and portable education, I was given this card. And I was able to move up here to Island County and look for employment and find gainful employment. I had a family, I had a young daughter that I was, looking after. I had a mother-in-law that was just diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, and I had a wife that wasn't working at the time. And to come up here without transportable work experience, it would have been hell or high water to find gainful employment. It was hard enough with a trained apprenticeship program to find work up here. A lot of the questions that I was asked was, who do you know? And when you're a young man that was born and raised in San Diego, California, we know how they, transients that move up here, a lot of them ask me, why did I move up here? It was hard to break those barriers. It took me time, but I really give a lot of benefit to this apprenticeship program that I was able to go to be able to live the life that I live today. I could go into a long story, but we don't have the time. We have 3 minutes. I just really want you to think about the benefit that it is to these people that work on these job sites to have this education. I think it was about a month ago or 3 weeks ago, I was in here for one of your Planning Commission Cherry Point discussions. And one of the things, we see what happens when we shove ordinances or with Initiative 976, it just, there's a lot of discussion about that in the Sound Transit and this and that, and I don't want to get real deep into that, but there was a lot of dialogue that night. And one of the things that I really enjoyed, there was a lot of questions, a lot of, information that needed to be shared. And I ask you, please give the Planning Commission enough time, and let's not, come up with the solution that we think is good now. Let's figure it out, because it's dialogue that creates the solution that'll give us long-term results. Thank you for your time. Have a good day.
Afternoon, or evening, I guess. My name is Dominic Gonzalez. I'm an apprentice out of Local 292 Laborers Union. I am here in support of AB 2019-285. Just speaking from my personal, what I have experienced, I'm a 60% level apprentice, and that's starting. That's very beginning. And I've currently been the past 2 weeks on a drilling job. We're drilling 56 feet down, 40-degree angle into the side of a hill to put down some barrier lines so that it keeps the ground from eroding onto the businesses below. Me being there the past 2 weeks, before I started this job, I knew nothing about drilling. So I was kind of put off the side, just helping, just manually moving some stuff. And as I have learned the past 2 weeks, my boss has given me more and more to do. And if you were to come out to the job, I could tell you exactly what needs to be done now and where everything's going to be going. And this isn't a small task. Each casting we put into the ground is about 150 pounds. Easily can take your hand off, crush you. So we have to be extremely safe out there. And my boss out there right now is very good at telling us if there's anything unsafe going on, we have the right to stop all work, and then he'll come address what's going on, stuff like that. I've never been told, I'm 25 now, I've been working construction since I was 16. I have never been told until I got into the union that I have the right to completely stop all work, and there's going to be no repercussions for it. I have been offered to do things on other jobs before I went to the union, saying, hey, you should, can you do this? I'm like, no, I don't know how. They're like, okay, well, just try it, see how it goes. That's asking for disaster. As far as the comment mentioned previously, one of the gentlemen about BTC and their training programs, I am the person, I cannot sit in a classroom for 8 hours a day while they read off of a textbook about how something's supposed to be done. If I was to do that for the drilling, I'd get out there and still be clueless. Even if I was, oh, I have this training, I have this certificate. No, I need to be hands-on, otherwise it will not stick with me. And I know there are plenty of people out there who are the exact same way. You learn with your hands on. Yeah, I guess that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Eric McHenry from Lake Samish. Want to congratulate you, Ms. Frazee. Looks like you're in the win category. Mr. Sadhu, looks like you're in a dogfight. So anyways, I'd like to rebut some of the main points of the proponents of the current ordinance 29046 that was given as reasoning for rationalization and the need for the said ordinance. In addition, some comments in regards to the scrutiny and due diligence involved in introducing and passing the proposed compromise no wake zone AB 2019-480 at this point. Number one, the proponents cite in correspondence to the County Council numerous times that the possible need for reconstruction of West Lake Samish because it was incorrectly engineered. Then, how then can recreational boating be the cause of the shoreline erosion? Wouldn't that be engineering? Number two, proponents of 2019-046 cite the need to follow the 300-foot no-wake zone from shore or dock as not to confuse boaters as the different limits from shore. The fact is that the 150 feet from shore or dock is a predominant distance from shore or dock in the state, as well as other lakes in Whatcom County. And did you know that the limit's 200 feet for jet skis and other PWCs, Washington state law? So the scrutiny that's involved and then some of the questions asked by the sheriff as far as different distances, those are all discretionary to the sheriff, and they know what they are. And as they cited, they're going to cite for negligent boating as opposed to those distances. Number three, the site studies regarding shoreline erosion and water quality that have been presented by the experts should not be referenced in this case. Neither of the studies, the Chesapeake Bay study, where there are tidal flows, and the Mississippi Basin study, where there are floods and commercial traffic, are not anything like the Lake Samish watershed. The topographical data, as well as the plant species in these areas, are not like to Lake Samish. At best, the studies show that when there is more traffic on these waterways, the turbidity of the water increases. It's pretty much common sense. It is not conclusive as to which activities are responsible for what amount of turbidity or shoreline erosion. Number four, when the Whatcom County Sheriff was asked in the Planning and Development Committee if it would be harder to enforce the 150 and 300-foot no-wake zone, he answered yes. But he also stated they did not enforce the rule. They would be citing for negligent driving because it would have to be extreme to be cited. One of the reasons for this was there was no way to cite the distances because of buoys offshore are actually not supposed to be there because they are a safety issue.
Time.
I kept waiting for somebody on the council to ask if more boat or recreational activity would be taking place at a smaller area of the lake due to the greater no-wake zone, would it be less safe? Nobody asked that. I'm confident that the sheriff would have answered yes. It's common sense. Thanks for listening.
Eric,
yes.
You said 150 feet was Washington State?
No, the 200 feet on the PWCs, jet skis, is Washington State law. The 150 feet is more predominant. Now, different counties, different.
Where'd the data come from? Or where'd that?
That's Washington State site. If you look up for the Washington State voters card, it's stated right in print. There's 200 feet on jet skis and PWCs. Questions? Yep.
Mark Walker, 371 Shallow Shore. I want to talk about two things tonight, so I'm going to talk really, really fast. First, Lake Samish. This is a compromise. This is a catastrophe. I don't know how else to describe that. It's a catastrophe. You got over half a mile there. Nobody deserves a half a mile of their own lake. And to the detriment of everybody else on the lake, to the detriment of everybody else in the county, to the detriment of everybody else in the state that wants to use the lake, nobody deserves a half a mile of their own private lake. That's a catastrophe. That needs to get fixed. The big boats are at 300 feet. That's what the proponents of the original ordinance wanted. That's where they're at. All we're talking about now is ski boats at 150 feet. So fix that, please, and hopefully we can get the ski boats back to 150 feet. On to ducks. The Growth Management Act, as a builder-developer, requires us to build infill lots in cities where the utilities are, where the infrastructure is. When that came about, they had rules about growth management areas, and they were trying to stop urban sprawl into the county. So what happens when you have urban sprawl into the county is the people that sprawl into the county start running into county activities, like the smell of cows and people shooting ducks. And my understanding is the city of Blaine hasn't annexed this area, and it's not even part of their urban growth management area. So if you put a new shooting zone in an area which is not annexed and which is not even being pursued to be annexed, you are actually promoting urban sprawl and going against the whole purpose of the Growth Management Act. So I would strongly suggest that you don't do that and that you allow people to do rural activities in rural areas. The Native American people that came and spoke about their hunting grounds were not exclusive, and I would hope that you wouldn't be exclusive as far as who can hunt there. And finally in that, there was a guy talking about buying a chicken at Costco. And if you've never hunted, I have such fond memories of hunting with my father and his brother, my uncle, and I don't ever recall, and I love my mom, don't get me wrong, but I don't ever recall sitting at the Costco line with my arm around my mom taking a picture. It just wasn't the same memory. But I remember getting up early and going out in that lousy weather and having a great time with my dad, whether we got a duck or not. So that's it. I got it all in. Wow. Whew.
Thanks, Mr. Sparrow. Thanks.
Thanks. My name is Luis Aragon. I'm here to speak on behalf of the apprenticeship utilization that we've been discussing tonight. I'm a 20-year union member. I've been a member of 3 different locals, 2 here in Washington and 1 in Las Vegas. And I'm also a graduate apprentice of the program that these locals have offered. And I can tell you right now that the experience, the training that I have received through the apprenticeship is second to none. I can sit here and go on and on about all the different jobs I've been on in the last 20 years, and the apprenticeship has allowed me to do things from locally. I live here, by the way. I'm a union member here in Whatcom County. I work in the refineries. Been able to do high-rise tunnel work, underground, I mean, pretty much a wide variety of things, and I've been successful at it for the last 20 years based on the training that I received as an apprentice that has allowed me to be successful in all these different jobs. I've been able to help teach the young apprentices on the job as a journeyman the last, 18 years. I've been on jobs where there is an open shop scenario, and yeah, there's union, there's non-union, but there's not this unspoken divide of tension and friction. In my experience, it went well. We were able to reciprocate some help either way, and in a lot of different ways educate the other side as far as having the experience and the training in a wide variety of practices on the construction site, from operating equipment to running, jackhammers to concrete. In my experience, it's second to none. And all that being said, one of the hugest things that I can carry around with me from job to job, state to state, county to county, whatnot, is the safety culture that this training brings, that I've learned over the years. And
30 seconds,
there's a saying that you get what you pay for, and that's very true when it comes to educated workforce. Thank you.
Oh, Paul Jostens, 1798 Lake Samish. I'm here again to ask you to please move forward the compromise ordinance. I get up every morning during the work week and watch the Western Road team. I don't know how they haven't hit one of those no-wake buoys yet. Maybe they have, and I don't know about it because it's dark out there. But those no-wake buoys really bother me because there's no reason there, and it is, obviously not at this point of the lake, but during the summer when they got moved, it is a safety hazard for those of us who are boating. I see no purpose for it. I'm a boater. I paddleboard occasionally, kayak. We're just trying to put our lake back to a peaceful community, and we'd like your help to do that. If there's any unanswered questions, we would ask that you reach out to, at this point, anyone on the lake. I'll make myself available. I'm self-employed, so if you guys need any questions answered or you just want to come out and take a look at it, the lake's very peaceful right now, and we're kind of limited on daylight, but I really want to see this move forward so that my children have a safe place to recreate on the lake, and we can continue growing our community and the relationships that we can mend. Thanks for your time.
If anybody else has comments, come on down.
My name's Brian Cave, and I'm a retired firefighter paramedic from Bellingham, and I actually came here to talk about duck hunting. But I listened to a few conversations going on here, and I can tell you I left the fire service 20 years ago, and I started working in safety and heavy construction. And I'd like to fill in the thoughts that you might have about the difference between an apprenticeship program or an open program, because I've witnessed them as a safety professional after I left the Bellingham Fire Department after 20 years on a medic unit, and have responded on calls on construction sites to people that have been gravely injured. I've seen in 20 years the difference between people that actually go through an apprenticeship program and are trained in how to operate equipment and how to back trucks and how to be a fire watch inside refineries. They actually come out trained, and they know how to be a fire watch. They know how to read permits. It's imperative that people actually understand the responsibilities of their jobs on construction sites. And all of the crafts that I've been around that go through an apprenticeship program can actually fulfill their work duties safely, not just taking care of themselves, but also taking care of the people that are on the job sites. Apprenticeship programs are the backbone of safety as far as I'm concerned. You can't learn it by having someone mentoring you through your first or second day on a job. You're learning it for years, and then you're a journeyman, and then you're actually capable of taking care of people around you, not just yourself. So keep that in the back of your head, because I've seen the differences. Thank you. Oh, and I'd still like to go out and shoot ducks every now and then, so.
All right, not supposed to plug. Any other comments? All right, I'd like to thank everybody for the excellent discussions there, and seeing nobody else wanting to come down and testify in open session, I will close the open session. And our next item is the consent agenda. Mr. Sadhu?
Yes, before I do that, I want to make a comment on this apprenticeship thing, because I was, this is AB 2019285. I think it's important, and I would like the employers to please wait a couple of minutes and we can talk about it. I think that this did come up early in this year, and I attended, I believe 2 meetings, and then I wrote a written letter to BIAC, BIAWC, and to the AGC. I never got reply to that. I think the perspective I have been hearing from the employers is they do train their people. Yes, everybody needs to train their people to get the job done. Sure. but they never look at the perspective from the workers' perspective. The transferability, the gentleman talked about that. I have some experience. When I was dean at Bellingham Tech, I worked with a lot of different type of apprenticeships and trainings. I think that is the real basic question which has not been answered, because if I'm an employer, I need a person to make forms for concrete. I can call him a carpenter, but that's all he learns. If that person leaves, even within the same county, a different employer, and he goes, hey, I've been a carpenter, I worked for so-and-so, there is no recognition, there is no credentials, and even making those forms may be done in a different way with one concrete company than the other construction company or big.
It's just on. We're on it.
Tonight.
Yeah, this is, okay, so this was.
Yeah, we have time.
We have an
Well,
agenda.
I need to make my point.
So this is an introduction item. It will be coming back.
Okay,
for,
I will talk later, so I'll stop right here.
Talk
No, no,
about the
I
Cherry
think this is.
Point industrial zone and the businesses out there. That's what I want to talk about.
Is that an introduction item, or is it on the consent agenda?
Okay.
'Cause-
Neither, but so what?
I will
They
stop.
brought it up at open session, and I want to talk about that.
I'm just trying to get us to the consent agenda.
No, I mean,
but-
fair is fair.
Fair is fair, so Mr. Byrd had his.
I don't want to lose
No,
industrial
because we will.
zone.
this-
I'll stop. I
it is-
agree.
These will be important discussions, but when we do it as an item in a committee or a committee of the whole, we'll come back to all of these. So it is Mr. Sadoo's mic here
Yes.
for the consent agenda.
Okay.
That's what it was
There were-
supposed to be.
Yeah, just, I mean, real fast, I mean, they're still here. That was something we had talked about with the garbage thing, was bringing it back after a year, so they don't have to stay all night. It's not on the agenda for later.
Yeah, so we could,
Are there
normally
council
we would
members
do that
here?
at the end of the meeting and other items, I
I know,
suppose.
I just-
But we're going to go pretty quick here, I think, so.
My
because-
question is only, are you all for bringing that into a committee, and if so, what committee can that go into? for-
Why should it come to a committee before it's been through the
I got this.
planning commission?
I think we can get through the consent agenda pretty quick, then we have other items, and we can be back to this as, under.
That's what other
items.
business is
Right,
supposed to be.
so we'll get to that, because that's a good point, we need to.
Well, it was supposed to be that stuff.
So we are on the
you brought
consent
up.
agenda, Mr.
Okay,
Sadoo.
on to the consent agenda. There are 5 items on the consent agenda, and they all received 3-0 vote in the committee, and I so move for approval.
Yes, we have a motion, and that does not need a second, because it came out of, all right? Do we have, that's a simple motion. All those in favor of the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That passes 6-0 with Mr. Brown.
The-
Oh, Mr. Brown is still there?
I'm voting yes.
Did you vote aye?
I voted aye.
That passed 7-0. Yeah, the phone rang and then you went off and I wasn't sure. Okay, that passed 7-0.
Up on them again, so.
Yeah, we thought Tyler shut you down, but other items from finance?
Okay, the other items from finance. The first item is AB 2019-535. Request authorization for the county executive to enter into an interlocal agreement between Whatcom County and City of Bellingham for partial funding of maintenance and operations of crisis triage facility in the amount of $59,000. This received 3-0 vote in the committee, and I so move for approval.
So we have a motion. Any discussion further on that? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes 7-0.
The next item is AB 2019-563, request authorization for the county executive to enter into an interlocal agreement between Whatcom County and Washington State University for Master Gardeners Program support at county park sites. This also received 3-0 vote in the committee, and I so move for approval.
Okay, any further discussion on that besides what we had in committee? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes 7-0.
Next item is AB 2019-548, resolution approving the 2020 recommended convention center fund allocations. And this also received 3-0 vote in the committee, and I so move for approval.
Any more discussion beyond committee? All those in favor, say aye.
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 That passes 7-0.
The next item is AB 2019-558, request authorization for the county executive to approve a pass-through agreement between Whatcom County Flood Control Zone District and City of Bellingham for partial funding of maintenance and operations of crisis triage facility in the amount of $59,000. This received 3-0 vote in the committee, and I so move for approval.
Any more discussion beyond committee? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes 7-0.
and Washington State Department of Fish and Wildlife in the amount of $216,815, and to execute a purchase and sale agreement that is consistent with the provisions and purchase price in the agreement. Council acting as Whatcom County Flood Control Zone District Board of Supervisors. This also received 3-0 vote in the committee, and I so move for approval.
Any additional discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed?
Okay.
None. That passes 7-0.
Okay, the next item is AB 2019-559. Request authorization for the county executive to enter into a grant amendment between Whatcom County Flood Control Zone District and the Washington State Military Department of Supplement to supplement the grant scope and budget in the amount of $169,613 for a total amended grant amount of $512,350. Council acting as Whatcom County Flood Control Zone District Board of Supervisors. This item also received 3-0 vote in the committee, and I so move for approval.
Any additional discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
That passes 7-0 with Mr. Brown on a little delay here.
That's all the items I have.
Okay, then from there we go to report from Special Committee of the Whole. This afternoon, we had discussions about a resolution acknowledging the receipt of a petition for a no-shooting zone on the land part of the Blaine UGA, and to make sure I got this right, the resolution is to accept the petition and then have an ordinance that we prepared that will come back to us that we'll then discuss.
For a public hearing.
For a public hearing, yeah. So that was, I think we had a unanimous recommendation to recommend us to do that tonight. So do we have a motion for acknowledging receipt of the petition to have this ordinance prepared?
I move to acknowledge this petition.
Second.
To approve the resolution acknowledging receipt of the petition.
Okay.
So we have a motion from Mr. Sadhu. That's you're seconding, Mr. Buchanan?
Yes.
Okay, any additional discussion on that? And this was the yellow version, Mr. Byrd?
Yeah, I'm going to vote in favor because I do want to acknowledge the receipt, and I do want to have the conversation, but I will come back to the same thing of, I also want to see the data about why this is an actual issue.
Yeah, and this is not a vote in favor of approving.
Just acknowledging, yes.
It's
That's
having
what I
the
wanted
ordinance
clear.
prepared.
Yeah.
Okay, understood.
We'll have that conversation.
Any further discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And I'm on aye, so that passes 7-0. Okay, so committee reports. I want to get committee of the whole, so that's.
Yeah, you got to.
Already did it.
Well, we have
Oh.
three, we have, this is when I do the executive session stuff, okay.
Yeah.
So we had two things in executive session, and I flipped all my stuff upside down here. Two regarding indemnification of county personnel. I will read what we can out of county council. So the council met in executive session concerning the lawsuit in Maria Villa versus Whatcom County et al. Pursuant to Whatcom County Code 2.56. The council hereby finds A, the employees were acting in a manner in which the county had an interest. B, the employees were acting in the discharge of a duty imposed or authorized by law. C, the employees acted in good faith. The officers, officials, agents, or employees will be defended and indemnified pursuant to and consistent with the provisions of Whatcom County Code Chapter 2.56. And this is an executive session because there's a lawsuit. That's about as much as I think we can say. So do I have a motion to approve that?
Yes, I so moved for approval.
Moved by Mr. Sadhu and seconded by Ms. Frazee. All those in favor of that motion, say aye.
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 All opposed? None, because that passed 7-0 already in favor. Okay. The second one, very similar in terms of the language, but I'll read it. The council met in executive session concerning the lawsuit of Gardner versus Whatcom County et al. Pursuant to Whatcom County Code 2.56. The council hereby finds the following. A, the employees were acting in a manner in which the county had an interest. B, the employees were acting in the discharge of the duty imposed or authorized by the law. And C, the employees acted in good faith. The officers, officials, agents, and employees will be defended and indemnified pursuant and consistent with the provisions in Whatcom County Code Chapter 2.56. same situation. Do we have a moved by Ms. Brenner?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Buchanan. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 That passes 7-0. Third item in executive session came out with a proposed motion to authorize the county executive acting on behalf of the Whatcom County Flood Control Zone District Board of Supervisors to move forward with and complete acquisition of property as long as the purchase price of the property does not exceed the amount disclosed in executive session. And this is a property purchase, so we can't say much
Move
about
approval.
the details. Moved by Ms. Brenner,
Second.
seconded by Ms. Frazee. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 That passes 7-0. Natural resources, that's me. We had a presentation by Mr. McFarland, a semi-annual report on the progress of the Parks Department, and heard some details about the upcoming projects they'll be working on and the completed projects at Silver Lake. And that was pretty much it. Took about 30 minutes. Finance again?
Yeah, so we had a presentation on the two things. One was on the, by the county executive and the county deputy executive about the proposed, what you call, changes on the budget for 2020. And we have gotten the report back and the, what you call it, on the internet that you can, I'm just running a blank here. That how to look at all the changes being proposed by the department heads. And we are going to schedule ASRs, that's ASRs, and we're going to schedule another meeting to that effect so that we can discuss that for at least 3 hours on that. And the other report we had from the finance department about third quarter report, there were no earth-shaking changes. Revenue increased by 1% and expenditures were pretty much online with our budget. And so there was no significant items to be discussed.
Ms. Brenner, Public Works?
Yeah, we had a discussion regarding possible safety issues associated with the golf cart zone in Birch Bay, and the deputy who attended is going to bring back some ideas on how we can alleviate some of those concerns, including the possibility of, and I like the idea of having golf carts register, because there's no way to tell who they are, or, you know, what's going on. It wouldn't be like, you know, a big license thing. It would be just a little tag that, so if somebody does do something that's illegal and puts other people at risk, at least you know who it is, rather than not being able to figure it out at all. Another issue came up. I don't know if I guess John left. Yeah, John Hutchings, the Director of Public Works, talked to me about a portion of a road that's part of the golf cart zone that's on the edge of it, and there was a request from somebody to take that off because it's a very well-used road that kind of interferes with the golf carts a lot. And John said he didn't have a problem with it, so instead of pushing it through now, we decided to request that, and I'll put it in my committee, that somebody bring forward to us a request to do that, or I can work on getting it ready, and it would go through committee and come to the council for approval. And it would, I'm sure it would take a public hearing.
Yeah, I forgot about one item. We did had a presentation from the county facilities department. They updated us on all the work being done. People see scaffold all around the courthouse and how it is progressing. And that's a phase one, and they are already wanting to release some funds to do the engineering design for the phase two so that we can continue that work and get it done. Thank you.
Okay, special committee of the whole again.
We did that.
We had one more thing out of Public Works, that there was a motion made to recommend to the council for them to bring forward a registration.
Yeah, didn't I say that?
We have to vote on it. Remember we wanted to obtain.
Oh, no, I don't, we aren't ready to vote on any of that stuff. It's about just asking them to bring forward
I know, but
ideas,
remember,
including
we asked to get a council majority to ask that.
to possibly include it, because it's not the only thing.
That's the motion that was made
Okay,
today.
all right. I would say to possibly include it when they bring the information forward. That's what I thought I had
Well, that's
said.
up to you. I was just reminding you that
Okay,
there's an
no.
open motion that was approved that said we were going to bring it before the council tonight.
I thought it was, we didn't decide to do that. Go ahead. Anyway,
Motion out of the Public Works Committee.
The motion was to, for the council to recommend, for the committee to recommend to the council that they bring forward their ideas about, not to approve it.
right.
But just to bring it forward.
Let's bring out that motion, you'll get a little more weight behind the recommendation then.
Okay, whatever you just said. To me, it was, we were going to allow staff, the sheriff's office, to bring forward.
Does this sound familiar? Yeah, Kathy, maybe you can do it.
As I recall from today, there was a motion to recommend that the sheriff come back with a plan for how to provide an online, low-cost golf cart registration system.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Do I hear
But
it?
there was also, part of that too was to bring forward ideas for how to improve safety in the golf cart zone. It might have been a separate one, but I remember we wanted that too.
What was the voting committee?
3-0.
So we have a motion coming out of committee 3-0 for this recommendation.
Yeah, okay.
Any further?
What she said.
Okay, wait, Kathy's got it down there. Any further discussion on that recommendation? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye. That passes 7-0 with a little mystery delay there. Okay, so now you got unanimous support for the
Oh,
recommendation.
I'm so excited.
So, special committee of the whole, we did have another special committee of the whole with the no shooting thing, one of which we just disposed of. But we also had a discussion that has been left open about the broader no shooting zone and the open water. And that is going to be coming back to us. No, did we? That's going to be on the December 3rd council meeting.
That'll just be on for action. There won't be a public hearing or anything on that.
All right, so now getting to
Other business.
Mr. Bird's other item. Sorry that took so long. Actually, that's pretty fast for us, so. You mentioned thing about the contract and the revisiting the Point Roberts.
Yeah, I was going to bring that, anyway, good, they're here.
So other items, that was one that was on the table.
I mean, you all know where I stand on this, so I'm curious.
Well, I'll do it.
No, I mean, I'm just
Yeah,
curious if there's a desire to have that conversation again.
When we first did this, I was assuming that after a certain period of time, no quicker than 6 months, we'd come back and revisit it, and we haven't.
We haven't.
So
I want to put that in my committee for a discussion.
I just want to, and I'm not sure if this is going to explain anything, but I just wanted to share with you an email that I had sent to you previously. It's from Jeff Hedges, and it says, consistent with last year's tariff revision, UTC staff have just completed a review of solid waste collection services in Point Roberts and will be presenting their results to the commission on November 22nd in Lacey. Their findings, I can report to the Public Works Committee on their outcome if the council wishes. So I'm just going to recommend that if you want to bring this into your committee, that you wait until that December meeting.
December 3rd, yeah,
Thank you.
good point.
So, Mr. Scoop.
I was going to say that, didn't we decide that it will be after 12 months? I don't know, I don't recall that when we approved, we said that we'll wait 12 months to reopen that.
By December 3rd, it'll be almost.
Yeah, we passed that in September last year.
September?
Yeah,
Okay.
so we're-
I'm just
12 months.
kind of reminded of that. There was something like 1 year.
That's crazy.
But did it go into effect January 1st? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, it went into effect in January 1st.
So do we can just have a committee chair schedule that? We don't need to do a motion on that.
I just did,
Okay,
thanks to Dana.
that's done. That will be coming back to revisit the level of service and all that on Okay, so other items, any other items?
I got one more thing.
Mr. Buchanan, then Mr. Berg.
I will be going to Tulsa, Oklahoma on the 20th through the 22nd of November for a NACO-sponsored conference on criminal justice and behavioral health and substance use disorder. It's part of the Stepping Up program that NACO is promoting, so it's all paid for by NACO. And I will report back to the council when we're done.
I don't know if we're doing council member updates or other items, so let's just do them, whatever. Are you at another?
No, I'm all right, go.
Okay. I don't actually know there's any other items in council member updates, but so. Yeah,
That was mine.
that was a good one.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Congratulations to our newly arriving council members, so we'll be meeting in
Yeah.
January.
Newly arrived, I'm not newly, I'm
We
newly.
have
I'm leaving.
just, Mr. Ellenbess and Ms. Kirshner will be joining us in January, so congrats to
I
them.
think Barbara was asking for another meeting on like the 10th, right? before.
No, I wasn't.
I've told you, December 27th.
No, I wasn't.
Ms. Brenner, the council member updates, or?
You already asked me, or, yeah, no.
I asked second because I was just hoping.
Okay, thanks for asking twice.
Mr. Berg.
Not the 27th.
Oh.
That's all I got.
I think,
Christmas present. Mr. Brown, any council member updates?
Nothing from me.
Okay, thank you for staying with us. All right, and if there's no further business, we're adjourned.
Thank you.
that's what you're supposed to say.